Hi, this is Lethea with Farm View Creators. Today we're going to work on the Prim Shaker display box. So here's the packaging. I just wanted you to see how nicely these kits from the Rust Covered Cottage by Christina are packaged. Just separating all of my pieces. As I'm separating, I'm trying to figure out how it goes together. So you'll see me kind of place certain things in certain places. I'm also deciding what needs to be stained, what needs to be stained on both sides. I'm using my sticky board on those little pieces so that they don't wiggle around with me on me while I'm trying to stain them. Using my sponge and the Van Dyke brown semi-gel glaze from Couture, and just hitting one even nice layer. I'm going to go ahead and do the side pieces because they are going to need to be stained on both sides. So I want to give that first side plenty of time to dry. Kind of wish I'd put these pieces on the sticky board to stain them and put my top coat on it, which would have made my life easier, but I didn't. Also, while you're watching, see if you can catch where I made a mistake before I caught it. So just giving all of those backboard pieces a nice layer of glaze. Also trying to make sure my fingerprints don't show up and that it's nice and even. And then I'm really trying on the larger pieces to stain with the grain. Just makes it look better. Then I'm going to get all my pieces, give it a good dry. And then I'm going to work on that backboard. This will be the back of the display box, but I think the back should look pretty too. And then I'm going to hit the other side of the side pieces. Making sure all of it is stained, and when I laid it down, I wanted to make sure I didn't get any globs. And then I'm going to go back in with Debi's DIY dark wax and hit the edges. If I get it too thick, I'll rub it back with my finger. Just getting the edges just to give it a little more dimension. And then I'll hit a little of the inside just to kind of make it a little older looking. And then each one of those backboard pieces all the way around. I reload when I don't feel like I'm getting enough wax on the edges. And then sometimes I get too much and I just wipe it back. No big deal. Few more pieces. I'm also not worrying if I get it on my fingers because I can always rub that back. Hitting those edges and the inside and then buffing it out with my hand. And then that last little piece. Also hitting those buttons and circles, and that long skinny piece is going to be the lip on the front. And then I'm going in with Couture's Dead Flat Top Coat. I love how this really just takes out all the shine. I love matte. Hitting those sides first because I want to make sure they have plenty of time to dry before I do the back side. So I'm going to dry those a little bit. And then this is really where I wish I had my sticky board underneath because they wanted to slip and slide on me. But we got it done. Just trying to make sure I have a nice even layer without having any globs on the end. If I have any globs, I wipe it back and try to get rid of that. Then I'm going to give the back side a good layer. Making sure I haven't missed any spots If I do, I go back. And then that last piece. And now I'm going to get that back side of the side pieces. And then I'm going to try to figure out how to put this together after I've dried all those pieces. Just kind of trying to lay out, and then I'm going to use my art glitter glue. I kind of learned as I went how and where I needed to put that glue. So I had some glue in the wrong spot, but that's okay. I'm holding it tight, trying to let it set up a little bit. The art glitter glue does take a little longer to set up than the Tight Bond Thick and Quick, but I like how it doesn't get all over my fingers and stick them together, which has happened. I actually tore up my silicone mat because I was putting something together and got my Tight Bond on it, and it stuck to my project and then tore when I tried to get it apart. So I'm setting that aside, and I'm going to let that set up a little bit while I work on the top horizontal piece. The small buttons go on first, and then the larger ones layer on top. I'm trying to make sure the grain is going in the same direction as the straight piece. This is going to be great because you can tie garland to it so that it kind of hangs across the back of your box. Then I'm trying to see how those back pieces lay, and I thought that that rectangular piece went on the bottom as like a layer, but alas, it did not. It goes underneath, so it really did not need stain, and the bottom piece that has the grooves did need the stain, so I had to go back and hit that again, and my pieces were coming apart, which ended up being fine because then I could really get in there with that stain. So it turned out fine, but I was sweating so bad during this because I did not realize I had messed up. So I'm getting that bottom piece attached, and while I'm holding that, I'm applying glue to the next piece, holding that tightly, trying to make sure that it's lined up. Then I'm going to go in with my left hand and get that left hand side piece glued on there so that I can hold it all together, pressing it really good, holding it tight, and then putting my slats in there because I want to make sure that I get the spacing correct, because they do not have to be super tight against each other to fit. In fact, there needs to be just a small crevice of space in between. I like that because if it was tight, it would be very difficult to get that last piece in there. So getting all those and holding them tight, putting some pressure on there. And then I'm going to go in with that top horizontal piece, making sure it's flush against the top of the display box. And then I'm going to get that bottom piece that is nicely stained and no one will ever see. But it does give it a little more structure and support down there. It also gives you something to glue that little lip onto the front. And I think that really adds to the finished look to have that little lip on there. And I just love the stained look. I love the wood grain. I think it's beautiful. And there we have the finished product. And then I added some my chicken and my little sign. I will probably add all kinds of